Welcome. This was supposed to be at 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. my time, but Spin messaged me and said, "Hey, you have the schedule for 2 a.m." So I fucked up somewhere. I think I edited it today. I added Kiefer's name.
The first time I saw this was when you put up a countdown, so that was good.
Yeah.
The heads up there.
We thought it was a 3, and it's 2 our time.
Oh, here we are. God, I made so many mistakes. How are you guys? Busy week?
Yeah, I've thrown Kiefer into the fire today. Specifically, I think he's been talking since 7 a.m.
Wow. Well, this is going to be your least enjoyable conversation, so strap in. So we've got Kiefer Lammi, Nic Justin. Nic Justin is the CEO of Proven and just the boss, I guess, or one of a trifecta of bosses, I guess. And Kiefer Lammi is their newest coach, Proven's newest coach. So who texted who first?
I texted Jarrett first. That was the intermediary. I think I've had a good relationship with him for a long time, and obviously he came over not that long ago, and so we just were chatting a little bit about his role, some of the things they were doing with the business, and that led into a conversation with Nic.
Right. So he was at CompTrain.
Yep.
This is Jarrett Smith. He was at CompTrain, and he moved down, and then you were like, "Oh, how's that going?" And then it just kind of organically led to conversations. How long ago was that? How long ago did you start thinking like, "Oh, maybe it's time for a change, or maybe I need to do something different"?
This was maybe, I don't know. So they had Proven had put up a we're hiring thing on social media. And I didn't necessarily think that what they were hiring for was the exact kind of role I might be looking for. But I think that that's what sparked me to think more about should I reach out? Might this be an opportunity that would be worthwhile? And I even said this to Jared. I think I was like, I don't really know if what they're looking for and what I might be looking for will line up. But I think if I don't ask, that I'll regret not asking.
That's fair. I'll get to you in a minute, Nic. You were with Underdogs for a long time. You were coaching in Invictus originally, wasn't it? Years ago.
Yeah, so I was coaching at Invictus Boston, which is formerly Reebok CrossFit Back Bay and CrossFit Fenway in Boston, and they had sort of partnered with CJ and the Invictus brand to bring that branding to Boston. I was working for them, so I was not really a part of what people know as Invictus and the competitor side of things. And yeah, I was, at the time training with Tola and Kelsey, who were both coached by Justin. And that was my initial intro to him, first kind of personally as a friend, and then working together as business partners, working under him as a coach with Underdogs.
And then, so you were his right hand up until you moved, basically. It was you and him. And then you had essentially all of Oceania you were coaching, and then Kyra and a few others as well. What's that like when that so obviously you have musings or whatever, or you're thinking oh, maybe I'll move, and I guess the thing is that when this happened or was happening, I think a lot of people immediately jumped to the assumption of, oh, something terrible happened, or they obviously had a massive argument, massive fallout. Something bad happened. That's why he's leaving. How do you tell? Is that a breakup? How do you tell? Because Justin's a passionate guy. So how do you broach the subject with him of oh, I think it's time for a change? Was it amicable? Was it did you put it off for a long time? Did you just rip the Band-Aid off and say it? Was it did it go worse, better than you thought it would?
Lots of questions in there. It was definitely a breakup. It was really challenging. I am incredibly indebted and grateful for what Justin has helped provide for me as a friend, as a mentor, as a coach, and all these things. I would not be in the position that I'm in now with the athlete success I have without him and without being a part of Underdogs. And yes, I may have been his right hand, but we have a team of really good coaches, amazing coaches with them. So, Nic will even know for the first couple of weeks we were talking, there was a lot of me being hey, I appreciate the conversation. I really don't know where I'm at or what I might want. And so when it came to talking with Justin, I, for better or for worse, I waited until I was certain that it was a change that I would want to make, because it was not a conversation that I wanted to have lightly, or a conversation where I wanted to be like, hey, like, I'm thinking about going to work for another group in the space.
I guess it's kind of like if you're married and you say, hey, I'm a divorce might be a good idea. You can't take that back. You're not going to turn around and be like, actually, I changed my mind. It's fine.
But, you know, I won't speak for how he feels about it, but in terms of how it all went, on the list of outcomes that I thought through in my head, like, it went as well as I could have ever asked for it to go. It was incredibly professional. Justin has always been very supportive of me as a coach, and he's very supportive of me growing as a coach, and, you know, like, making a living and making my dreams come true and all of that. It's tough to leave Underdogs, and I would like to think I left enough of an impact that it's tough for them for me to leave Underdogs, but like, he I couldn't ask for more from him in that process.
Yeah, somebody asked, where is it? How many proven signs are hanging around the gym? And somebody else said, are they in the same room with a different portion of the same mural of logos? No, so it's actually, Nick was just telling me before we started, it's actually the size of the logo is directly related to the respect that you have amongst your peers at the company. So you can't see it, but there's actually a teeny tiny little proven over here in the corner in front of me. What about, because obviously, like, Justin's had, you know, an unusual lead up to the games the last number of years. You go back to, like, the girls in whatever year that was, 2020, 21, all got COVID. And then the year after, Danielle left. And then, like, there's just kind of ructions pre-games. Was there part of you that was like, maybe I'll wait till, like, September? Or why now, I guess?
I mean, things happen with every camp at every point in the season. I don't think it's unique to Justin and Underdogs. It's not unique to us, but I think the reality was, like, this, for me, the change had nothing to do with where we're at in the season and everything to do with a role that I was excited to take on. And so there was not going to be a good time to do it. But I also think that the closer it was to the games or at the games, it would be a worse time, and it takes attention away from the things that are more important. Like this, I told Nick 1,000 times, like, I don't want this to be news. I don't want it to impact other people in any negative way and stuff. It's just, it was a career decision for me. Obviously, I'm grateful that they're really excited about it as well. But I think that the sooner that it can not be news, the sooner things can go back to normal for everybody.
So the driving forces behind the decision then, if I said it was,
you give me a drop down list now?
Yeah, like security, opportunity, like potential, would they be kind of the big three? Like your own personal potential to improve and learn, I guess, from different people. And then security as in, like, just like financial long term, all that kind of stuff. And then opportunity as in, like, it's proven and it's, you know, why not? Would they be the three big ones, would you say?
Yeah. Just there was a lot of positive career opportunity for me. And I also saw it as a positive opportunity for athletes that I work with as well. You know, it was not a decision that I made in isolation. Obviously, conversations with Kyra, had conversations with some of my athletes. And it was just something that, like, you know, outside opinions don't matter as much to me as the people that are really close to me and really impacted by what I do with my career. And it checked a lot of boxes that made me feel really excited to be able to continue to chase the dream of being a full-time professional coach in the sport.
So you mentioned Kyra there, and, you know, other notable ones, so like Bailey Martin, Grace Walton, Luka Jukic, Kyra. What's the story with what's happening there? Are they remaining behind? Are you still coaching them? How's that working?
Yeah, I mean, so when this was an official thing for me, I had a conversation with all of my athletes, and I explained to them the job change, and I expressed to them, obviously, that, you know, my changes don't have to mean a change for them. Obviously, my hope would be that they would come with me wherever I go, and that was pretty much unanimously the decision was, like, you're my coach, I'm your athlete, I go where you go, and I support what you want to do, and I'm excited for you. And so I was lucky that in that, like, it was not a hard conversation to navigate. And I think, you know, Nic can speak more to it, but like I was definitely sensitive to it, but like their sensitivity to it was like, hey, this is a coach hiring, not an athlete hiring. The fact that we get, you know, I get to come onto the team as a proven coach. Yes, that means that these athletes get to come on board and have the support of the proven team in whatever regards they want. But first and foremost, it was about this and the business. And then there are tons of opportunities that my athletes will get from this that they can choose to accept and embrace to whatever level they're really wanting to.
Barbell spin, Brian rightly points out that leaving in September would disrupt training for Tier 1s of SoCal. Yeah, probably not quite the same impact. Nic, so you guys you're kind of corralling this group of coaches, like young coaches, Jarrett from Comtrain, Kiefer from Underdogs, Shane, like nobody heard of him before, Proven kicked off. But you have, is there a common theme amongst them? Like, is there a attribute that you look for that they all have, or is it different? Is Kiefer so different from Jarrett that they both bring different things to the table that it works? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can answer that. I think number one is our goal for 2024 was to move to much more of a coaching approach than an athlete approach, because I think we all know 2023 was just a year that we had to move on from because there was a lot of intangibles there that we weren't happy with. There was obviously athletes that weren't happy, and we had to figure out what the root cause of that was. And what we're just finding time and time again is that if we just put the right people in place and we put high character people in place, which I can't say anymore, like obviously Dwight, myself, Batu has been with us, Shane's been with us. We know each other very well, but getting to know Kiefer and Jarrett to that point, their character level is off the charts. And I think with these moves, we just know that the right athletes will be attached to our brand if we put these people in place. And just like Kiefer's point, this wasn't a move of, oh man, you've got 4 athletes. You had the best year of your career when it comes to going to the games. You've got to come over here with us. Like, I love his athletes, and we've had tons of welcome calls, and we've talked to all of them. We obviously know the Oceana guys really well just because of our brand. But if they didn't come with him, it wouldn't have changed a single thing about what we're doing over here, because we have a lot bigger plans for him in impacting our brand as a whole rather than just a few athletes. And we're hoping on their athlete side, we can help them improve their careers more than they could on their own.
So what are you staying in Vegas then, Kiefer, or moving?
The plan is to stay in Vegas. Like, I can't say that we'll stay there forever, but like, you know, I have 6 athletes that train with me in person every day. They have lives as well, whether it's working in school and everything. They have places that they live. We own a house in Vegas. Like, we're very happy where we are. And not to mention, like, you know, yes, it changes relationships a little bit with the rest of the Underdogs crew there and stuff, but like, those are some of our closest friends. And so as much as I would like to remain normal, but like, that's the hope. Obviously some things will feel different to different people, but we have really good training environments there, good opportunities. You know, we will travel to Nashville to spend more time with the crew here, train in-house, do coaching related things. But for the foreseeable future, I don't have any plans of moving.
Yeah, I guess like Ali Scuds is there and she's not with Underdogs, and that doesn't seem to have been weird or unusual. So you know, there's a precedent set for it there. What's your role going to be then? Like, your coaching, obviously, is that where it like starts and finishes? Is there other things that you're doing?
I don't know, Nic, what's my role? Where does it start and finish?
No, it's really cool because we got this opportunity to where Kiefer's in. I mean, he did such a great job at Underdogs, and I think we can all say like their brand is because it is the way it is because Justin and him built something great, and they're right in that conversation with the camps that have come of late. So on the business development side, there's obviously nobody right now that I really have that can help me on those things. So he's going to be a big part of that. I think what we'll do is put all of our emphasis into the athletes, obviously, for the games for the next 6 weeks. And then around September, we've got some plans to where we're going to plug and play some things, trial some things out, and figure out with the growth that we're having this year where he can best fit.
Wow. That sounds like pressure.
Because this job posting has morphed 4 different million ways since we posted it. We didn't post this until, when was it? Like March. So it's been a while, and we were not going to just hire somebody just because we needed somebody to fill a few holes. We were trying to find the right person. Thankfully, we held out long enough for Kiefer to be in the conversation, because that would have been 3 to 4 months after we were looking for someone. But we knew there was somebody out there that could help us on more than just entering a program on the online track or coaching some classes here in person. Like, we wanted to find somebody that was going to be flexible, but that's somebody that could fit our values as well.
Was this the plan, Nick? Like, there's been a lot of change. Like, you guys kind of took in Zeus, and that meant like new coaches like Tim Paulson and what's the guy's name that owns Zeus?
Dave Charbonneau.
Dave.
Or the fact that people say, what's the guy's name?
I thought, you see, for honestly about 2 years, I thought his name was Zeus, and I was like, man, that's a ballsy name to give your kid.
Forged by Zeus himself.
Yeah. So you have grown, like, you know, you mentioned there that last year there was, you know, obviously like talk of unhappiness amongst the athletes, like, you know, Brooke left and Panchik left, and it just kind of seemed a bit like ropey, like that, you know, there's something's not right, whatever. And then this is a lot of change on top of that, of taking over Zeus, new coaches coming in, Kiefer coming in, Jarrett coming in. Is it, like, some people would say that it's reactionary, that it's, you know, oh, well, we didn't have the year that we wanted last year, so let's adjust. But then with all of that change happening, is there pressure on to kind of make it work, like to not, because you don't want it to affect anyone's season, you don't want anyone to have a bad year because of all the changes going on around them?
Yeah, so I think it's a good mixture, right? Because people see the Brooke, the Saxon situation, and they just assume a reactionary response there, to whereas 4 or 5 months before that is when I actually came on in a business role, where before that there was really no business plan. It was like a lot of camps are now. Let's just get some big name athletes. Let's throw some marketing out there and hope they do well at the games. We were very much in that light, and we won't stray away from that, because that's what it was at the time. When I came on, the goal was, let's finally turn this thing into a business to where we can scale it and hopefully be the only ones doing it in 5, 10, 15 years and doing it the best. So you got to look at it from a couple different angles. One, if you stay down the path of just getting athletes for the sake of getting athletes because they have marketability when they're in their mid-20s to 30s, you got a really short shelf life there. And you're really putting a lot of eggs in the basket of hoping that athlete does exactly what you want them to do, which you can't in this sport. Like, it's an individual sport. You can't make any of these athletes do anything until we really get some money into this sport, to where you're signing big contracts, you have deliverables and those things. It's always going to be a free market. It's always going to be free agency. So my rebuttal to that, my plan for this is, let's start figuring out what human beings we can bring into this company that can attract the right people. And that's exactly what this is. So, like, we can guarantee now that the people that are going to be on our athlete roster are more than just a face of the brand. It's going to be young athletes who we can help in their career professionally, but also actually care about us and want to actually make the brand better at the end of the day. Because if our brand keeps expanding the way it is, these guys only have the opportunities that they have even more and tenfold. That's a big conversation with Kiefer's athletes, is we sat them down and we're like, hey, in the last year, we've seen athletes go from hardly making anything to being able to market them on our social channels, everything and beyond, to where they're professional athletes now. And I know Kiefer's got a lot of young athletes where that's something they have to figure out early on, because if athletes don't figure that out, there's not enough money in this sport for them to be able to make a living. So that was our biggest goal, is like, how do we put an infrastructure in place to help elevate not only the sport, but our athletes to get to a point to where they feel like they are part of a family's, a quote unquote family, right? But like that they're taken care of by a brand rather than a brand just using them to grow.
Kiefer, obviously, quite a famous proven athlete is Colton, and you obviously had a major run-in with him a few weeks ago on the debate show when you said he's a piece of shit and he's not going to qualify. I'm ad-libbing. He's a piece of shit and he's not going to qualify out of semi-finals. Is your plan just to, like, check with Nick, hey, when's Colton coming? Cool, I'll come the week after. Is that your plan for the next 5 or 6 years?
No. First of all, I have the receipts of you saying just attack Colton. My words were, I am not going to come on the show and point out an athlete that's not going to qualify. And then we may have mutually agreed that Colton was the best target for that.
That's the most help, apart from Brandon Luckett yesterday. That's the most help I've ever given anyone on the debate show. Brandon Luckett messaged me after I sent the topics out for yesterday. Yesterday's show was dog shit, but I sent the topics out, and he messaged back and said, "What do I do if I don't know anything about any of these topics?" And I said, listen to Sousa talk about the, value for the affiliates. I was like, or just text him, whatever. And then I gave him like a line for the other two. He ignored them and talked about something totally different. And then the second most help I've ever given is you saying, come on, you don't really expect me to say an athlete is going to qualify. I was like, just attack Colton. He's right there in front of you and he can stick up for himself. So it's fine.
I still
you brought us the best content we've had in all year. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And an unfortunate outcome. It was not supposed to come true.
Yeah, you were supposed to be wrong. What's the story then with the athletes that are Grace, Bailey? Like Grace is leaving soon enough, isn't she? She's going over to America like relatively soon.
She gets here Monday.
Wow, shit. Okay, then
Bailey gets here like 8 or 9 days after.
Okay, yeah, New Zealand. He's a bit poorer, so it's okay. So they're going. Has their plans changed? Like, are they still going base themselves in Vegas, but like they'll visit Nashville or something? Is that the plan?
Their plan is to spend games prep in Vegas, and then we'll go directly to Texas.
Okay.
So, like again, nothing. In every way, my hope is that my changes rattle their world as little as possible in any sort of negative way or logistical way. So, they'll be in Vegas. Kyra, Gracie, and Bailey will train together leading into the games. Luca is going to get to the games a little bit before us, and then those last few days we'll all be able to catch up together.
He's not going to Vegas.
No, I mean, if you know anything about him and Lazar, like they have a really good training setup where they're at.
He probably wants to do 5 or 6 competitions before the games.
Listen, that's it. The man makes a good living doing it. So if it was something that he wanted to do, I would support him to the best of my ability in it. And that's always been part of the deal with us working together.
And that's Camp Rhino.
Yeah, that's changing. We're out of his Camp Rhino. Yep. And
have you, do you just go as you were? Because obviously prior to this, it's not like I want to kind of get away from the idea that there's some kind of division and that Alex Kazan is going to be like, fuck you, Grace, like when she walks into the gym, like you're not with us anymore. But is there would you say, hey, Justin, what time are you guys going to be there at? Okay, we'll come after, or we'll come towards the end of your session, or how do you navigate the logistics of it, or do you just do what you used to do, where you all just go at the same time and hang out and train?
It's a big, really well-equipped gym. It's an awesome space for us to train in, and Alex, Kyra, everybody has a decent home gym setup too that they do some training at, and there's a second location of Camp Rhino that sometimes will get used. My intention is to use the gym the way that we always have. I think everybody's been respectful of each other's space. There's more than enough equipment for it. And whether in the same camp or not, people have always been training in the same space, but working on different things. And I don't think that needs to change. Now, there are also other awesome gyms in the area. But as of right now, there's not a reason to make a change. And it's always something that we can revisit at a later date if anybody feels the need to revisit it.
The effects on Justin and Underdogs, obviously there's a logistical problem because you would have taken the work, a lot of workload, I guess, just being an extra pair of hands around. But realistically, so Alex remains, she's coached by Justin. Ricky remains coached by Justin. So their games prep isn't really affected. Justin's lead up isn't really affected. I suppose I'm kind of, I don't think anybody. I know that that's what's going to be said. Do you know what I mean? I know that that's going to be the narrative, not by Justin. I don't mean that, but that people will say, or people will assume, oh, this is going to mess up. And I kind of wonder how, if any effect will be had. Obviously, annoyance or a bit oh, that's a bit shit. But other than that,
is this a question or a thought?
it's a thought, but I'm just wondering what you think. Like, it's surely minimal impact. It'd be like if Jarrett left Proven and brought Sydney and, you know, others with them. And it's kind of like, oh, that's a shame to lose him. But like, it doesn't affect Shane and Tia. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
I don't think that I mean, I don't want to speak for Justin or anybody else. And so I have a quick response to it, I guess. But like, I don't think it affects anybody's prep in any meaningful way in that sense. Now, there's obviously like 2 brains is always better than 1, right? And Justin and I have had a great relationship and worked really well collaboratively together. So there's a piece of that that's like, oh, that sucks. That changes a little bit. But in the time since he and I had a conversation, I still walk into the gym every day and he and I fist bump and we chat a little bit. And I've always supported Alex and always will. And I would love to see her be as successful as possible. Same for Ricky. And he and I still banter a little bit over the phone. But yeah, when it comes to prep, like, these are all incredibly motivated individual athletes who have their plan from their coach, and they're going to attack that. And that's the only thing that really matters.
David says, Pedro spent too much time with Savan. He just wants to drama. I'd actually say the opposite. I feel like I'm diffusing potential drama. So yeah, still fist bump. But I'd say how does a fist bump work if you're angry? Does it get harder, or does it get like you know, like, yeah, whatever, like just like a brush? Was there a part of you when you were messaging or talking to like Grace and Billy and those guys after they said like, oh, you're my coach and wherever you go I go? Was there a part of you that was like, oh, thank fuck, I'm not sure my ego could have handled being dished?
Not for ego. Like I said this to Kyra, like when I was getting ready to make the decision, and obviously Kyra's a part of that decision, but also at the same time she has no like if I go, then she is that thing, right? It's just kind of like we are a package deal in that way. But I said to her, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't really know what will happen in the training space. I don't know what's going to happen with all of the athletes. Like, there's a chance that Bailey could have been like, there's no way I'm going to be in the same camp as Jay. That's my competitor. And right, like I can't control those things. So it's not my ego being stroked when they say they go where I go, but it's like an affirmation of the time that I spent building a relationship with them, and how I feel about them is also how they feel about me. Like, all I ever want from them, all I could ever ask for them is for them to say that they trust me and that they want me to succeed as much as they succeed. And that's literally the answer I got from everybody.
I guess it'd be different as well if you were saying, oh, I'm setting up my own camp. There's a difference there between saying I'm setting up my own camp and I'm moving to a camp that has systems in place and that I'm not going to be distracted by doing X, Y, or Z. Or, you know, like, if you're setting up your own camp, you're in charge of everything, whereas you're moving into a system that's already in place and that's been proven, pardon the pun, successful. So I guess that changes things too. Fucking hell, this guy is it a requirement to be a coach to have a female significant other that is drastically more fit? I read that comment and I was like, oh yeah, Kiefer and Kyra. Oh shit. And Nick and Tia. Oh shit, Shane and Tia. Fuck, this guy's nailed it. Like, there's no exception to the rule.
You guys uncovered it. That was the secret key right there. That was the only business plan.
Wow. There's actually no
it's like it's a resume thing. It's like, if you can coach your significant other successfully, then you can do anything.
Yeah. It's like, look what I did with her.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man. That's fucking nuts. How have I never noticed that before? That's an incredible comment. Okay, so then there's quite a hefty number of proven athletes, or like proven adjacent, whatever. I don't know. Do I call them proven athletes? No. Like Grace. What's Grace? Just a Kiefer athlete?
Oh, are you asking me or Nick?
I'm asking either of you.
I will speak from my part, and Nick can jump in, but like, Proven is excited and proud to support all of them as proven athletes. I think that.
Yeah, I think we had that conversation with them like one by one. Like, we trying to figure out all these time zones was a heck of a time. Now that we have Serbia in there, we've got Western Australia, all different sides of Australia. But we actually set up meetings with each of them, because the biggest thing that we don't want to happen here is that they feel like they're getting put into a brand that like, you need to do X, Y, Z for us between the next 6 weeks, because that will throw people's training off. And we get that more than anybody. And that's the last thing we want to happen. I think in our meeting, and I told Kiefer this beforehand, I was like, hey, yes, we have our athletes post some things when the seasons happen, but we're not having any of you guys do that. If that's something you want to do to support Kiefer and you really like what we're doing here, we're going to send you the equipment you need to train for the games if you don't have it. We're going to get you guys the equipment that you need. We're going to get you apparel that you need, supplements, whatever it is to help you compete better at the games. That's all that matters right now. And I think pretty much every single one of them was more than happy to say, I'm excited to be a proven athlete. I'm excited for what's ahead. And people like, I would say Gracie was a great one. She's looked up to Tia forever in her career. And she's like, if I can just start picking a little bit of her brain and Shane's brain, and I know Bailey feels the same way about Jay, even though they're competitors, everybody's elevation is going to go up when it comes to their careers because of this. And we're just thankful to have them. Like, so if we can help in any way, we're proud to call them proven athletes for sure.
But it is something that kind of comes up regularly of people training together, that it would detract. But I guess the difference is like Bailey and Jay don't train together. Even now, like say even over the next 5 years or whatever, they won't train together unless they both are in somewhere for a prep or for a camp or something. And the same will be said of Grace and Tia. The same will be said, like for most of them, they're not going to actually train together, apart from maybe the odd little sharpening iron session or whatever. So yeah, I guess it can only make them better unless someone has a crazy ego or like a crazy.
And that was the
problem.
point like before, right? Like we vet these athletes out. Like I would have told Kiefer if there was someone in his camp, and Shane already said this to me. He's like, if there's somebody that we don't align with, we're going to talk to him about that because they might not be a good fit for us. And whether that means they're still with Kiefer or they're not with us at all, like that's a conversation that can be had. But it just worked out so perfectly that all of his athletes were high character people. They fit our mold really well and they wanted to be with us. This was just like a very seamless approach to all of it, which was great. And to see how excited they are, to your point, if they want to keep pushing each other and they want to do camps together and train together, it's going to help them. But that's by no means a prerequisite for anything like that. And Kiefer knows that he's still programming for them individually. He's going to get some awesome tools from our other coaches and Shane specifically. But there's no reason they really need to interact when it comes to like being head-on-head competitors training together.
So you just asked Bailey to totally change his personality before he moved over, basically. It was just like, everyone else is perfect. And you're like, yeah, we need to have a chat about Bailey. We need to get if he can just tone down most things.
It's what makes Bailey Bailey. It's what makes him an exciting athlete and a fun athlete to work with. Like everybody has a little bit of a unique personality.
Yeah, he's cool. I like Bailey a lot. Okay, so then what's the plan then so say Nashville first. What's the plan in Nashville? Say now you've got pretty much like 4 weeks until the games.
6.
We'll have 5 good weeks of training.
Okay.
Jay and Maddie get here next week, which will be awesome. So Tia, Jay, Maddie, that group when they train together is something like I've never seen. They all love each other because they just want to learn from Tia, which most of our athletes do anyways. But we actually, I don't know if many people know this yet, but Peter Ellis has joined us as well. So he's coming over the 18th, and he'll be with them the last 2 weeks, which will be really fun because they're really close.
Who was he with before?
He just was with a coach that was actually from his gym that he goes to. So it was kind of like a situation to where
similar to Jay, I guess, last year.
100%. And same with like an Olivia and a Jacob, where like their coach is even on board, where they're like, hey, I can't give this athlete what they need when it comes to the next step at the games. Would you guys be able to step in here and really take things over? And I got to know him pretty well at Torian this year for the first time. And he's one of the best people. Like that guy is going to work harder than anybody. He obviously competes really hard and it means a lot to him.
Right. So are they all coming together?
No, Peter will be a week later.
Okay. And do you have to temper them a little bit, like Jay and Maddie and Tia? Like, do you have to manage their training? Because if they're going to be here for about 5 weeks, then so do you have to manage and same Kiefer with the guys in Vegas? Do you have to kind of if you just say to that caliber of athlete, okay, the games are coming, we're all going to train together, we're going to do workouts, blah blah blah, and then you just let that happen for 5 weeks. That could end in potential disaster. Like, how do you manage is it just a case of separating, like letting them come together for the odd thing, but separating them, maybe they train together, but they do different shit or whatever, but not actually racing each other?
I think it's just unique to athlete personalities. That's part of like the coaching relationship, is knowing when you might need to be able to separate people out, or when you can set a certain expectation and when it's time to let them go and let them compete. So I don't have an answer until I get into it, but I'm not even sure that Shane has an answer until he gets into it too. Like, competition is healthy for pushing people forward. And I think if there's enough respect between the athletes, then it's not a negative fuel. It's a positive one.
And then in Vegas, then you'll have Kyra and Grace this week.
Yep.
And then the others are there, like non-game athletes. There's non-game games athletes there too. And then you're going to meet Luca in Vegas. And Bailey's coming over the week after, is it?
Bailey's coming to Vegas. Luca will meet us in Texas. He's going to get to Texas earlier than we will to start to get acclimated, and then we'll get there and we'll all be together for a couple easy gym days before the games start.
Is there much of a difference between Vegas, Nashville, and Texas, like weather-wise, or?
So Vegas, Nashville will be a lot more like Dallas and Fort Worth, just because it's very humid and very hot. I mean, it was 97 here, which for Celsius, I don't know what that is. Whereas in Vegas, it'll be dry, to where they'll have heat, but the humidity is something they'll have to get used to a little bit.
Yeah.
The humidity is just like wet, moisture in the air. Yeah. So it feels hotter. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Because the air is kind of sitting.
All you do is sweat all day long.
Yeah. I'm starting to think maybe I should do some kind of acclimation.
When do you go to the games?
Oh, like the Monday. I could die. I could actually die.
It's not going to be rough.
Yeah, like it's not. It's peak summer, like midsummer just passed here, and today it's been pissing rain all day, and it is 13 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
That's got to be in the 50s, right? Maybe.
I'll tell you now. 55.
Oh, that made me sound so good.
And that's summer.
Yeah, that's like, ooh.
It's been 115 in Vegas in the middle of the day.
Yeah. Maybe we just have really high humidity as well, and it just presents itself as rain. Maybe that's like,
so that's in Celsius, that's 46, Peter.
Fuck a duck. Jesus.
And last year, Texas had the most days consecutive over 100 and the most days in a month over 100.
But like legitimately, what the fuck am I going to do?
You got to stay inside, man. You got to get yourself a hat. And you got to run from Vendor Village to the arena and not be anywhere else.
You got to find somebody that's got a luxury box inside the arena and just stay there all day.
Yeah. Do RVs have air conditioning like when you're asleep, like when it's nighttime?
We'll find out.
Yep, that's dependent. Depends on how much you want to spend on it.
Yeah, because there was talk of getting an RV, and then someone said, "Oh yeah, like that'll be you at nighttime," and I was like, "Wait, why is it different at nighttime?" I want to show you guys this. This is shameless. So Rising Tide are doing. Wait to see this. So this is cool. So they're doing a pre-sale of T-shirts, right? So they're the T-shirts that were on Vindicate recently. Wait to see this. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
Coffee.
What should have been your very first product? I'm glad you now have that.
Look at my tasting notes. Tastes nice. It was all like fruit and stuff was like the actual taste notes. And I was like, no one gives a fuck. It just tastes nice.
Berry and chocolate.
Congratulations.
It's the locker room roast.
I like it.
And if you spend £40 on, so if you get like say 2 T-shirts or a T-shirt and a coffee, it's pretty cheap. Like 13, that's like $15, like something close to $15. But if you get a bag of coffee and a T-shirt, you get free shipping, which is pretty cool. I need to. How can I paste that in here?
We'll do a swap. You bring a T-shirt and a coffee, and I'll give you a T-shirt and a hydration so you don't die in Texas.
T-shirt and a coaching position.
And a decal for your floor. Right over your shoulder, right?
A larger logo for the corner. Have you had many messages since you since you left, Kiefer, like since you announced, have you had what's the general consensus been? Like, have people been messaging you saying, "Hey, this is amazing, congrats," or have people been messaging you like saying, "Oh, I'm sorry things have worked out this way"? Like, what's the kind of response from people?
No, it's all been really positive and supportive. I think either a short like "Congratulations, this is awesome," or maybe people that even if people don't totally understand it, I think everybody's response is like, "Hey, you must be so excited about this. Like, I'm really happy for you." Because I think that I would hope that people would know that I would not make anybody would not make such a big career change lightly. And that obviously if there was reason to make a change, that's something that I'm really excited about. And I think that that makes them happy for me. So many messages. Yeah, it's been nice.
Is there going to be more proven headquarters then, Nick? Is there going to be more like branches? Like, is it going to be like a Vegas branch of Proven? Is it going to be like you've got the gym in Australia. Is that going to become more of a hub, like more of a used space?
Yeah, that's definitely our goal. That's like expansion with the gym is definitely something that we want to do. This is going to be kind of our use case here in Nashville, obviously HQ, but we need to figure out kind of processes on how to scale that. And it's the same thing with our athletes. We got to figure out how we can keep what we have and the good process in place and scale that with the business. Because right now we're just so new that we're learning stuff every day. Like, we would by no means say that we're experts in running an affiliate because it's been so long for all of us, but we're figuring out ways that we can tie in the pro athlete side with the affiliates and find a really good relationship with there. I don't know about Vegas. Like, we could make it a party gym. We could do that. Have just bachelorette parties and bachelor parties that come in.
Yeah. You'd have Can Porter as a proven gym in no time, as a proven athlete in no time.
James and Con can come run that one.
Yeah. CrossFit says Proven needs to make better some sunscreen, and I would counter with sunscreen. Proven sunscreen.
You don't do vowels here.
Kiefer, when you went, how long have you been? You've been in Nashville for what, a week?
No, I've been in Nashville since like 8 a.m. Tuesday. So what day is it? Thursday, 2 days.
Okay, about 2 days. And have you been like present for training sessions and stuff? Like, have you been there? And has any of that? Have you been watching any of those sessions, being like, oh, or is it just kind of what you expected?
It's a combination of all the things. I think we talked about this earlier today on our own podcast and stuff. It's like there were moments of reaffirming things that we already do, and there's moments of being like, oh, I really like the way that was integrated. And I try to be very much like an observe first type of person, so I'm still just taking things in, making mental notes of things that I can bring back for my athletes or things that maybe I can add to what they're doing here. But yeah, it's a nice opportunity to get to know the athletes and get to know the coaches a little bit more personally, because it can be hard to do so without being in the same space.
Is there any reluctance when these conversations were happening initially, Nick, of, is this guy just fucking fishing? Like, is he just skimming us for information? He's going to go back to Justin and be like, I've got it. I figured out what they're doing.
Yeah, it's and if you know Shane at all, and I think we've talked about this in the past, he's very much wanting to keep his cards close to his chest. So I think it'd be funny to hear Kiefer's real thoughts on that. His first time coming and meeting everybody. I think Shane probably just kept his arm out, where like as this trip, Kiefer's eyes are probably wide open to some things just because now he's behind the curtain. He can see what's going on. But very much so is a much different feel and conversation before he was officially on the team.
The first time he came, he had that hood over his head. They had to pull that off, and he was tied to the chair. It's like, what are you doing here?
I still like yesterday this happened. I was in the gym and Tia was training, and I wanted to like just take a peek at the next piece, and I went to go look at her phone. I was like, do you mind if I look at this? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. Just look. And so it's an adjustment period for me and for everybody, but it's been nice. It's been very welcoming.
And you screenshotted that and sent it to everyone.
Yeah.
You're just going to sell it. It's like an OnlyFans now on the back end.
I'm going to have a paid Instagram where I just post everybody else's training.
Yeah. OnlyFans. Yeah. Okay. So basically, your career is on the up. Proven seem to have a good judgment when it comes to hiring coaches. All the athletes that you were working with are going with you. Games athletes, at least, are going with you.
All of my individual athletes.
Okay. They're all going with you, and they'll now be proven under the proven umbrella. They'll have the proven wing wrapped around them. I don't know where the fuck I'm going with that. And then they'll get the decal for their wall. I guess it takes a lot of pressure off them as well, because I know Underdogs do media too, but like the games now, they're just sorted, like media wise and photography, videography. They're just, you know, they've got some of the best in the game there to look after them, which is great. And then beyond this year, when you get to say post games, what do you do from there? Like, it's quite a lot of athletes that you've got now. So do you just stay? Like, do you just not?
Me personally?
But both of you, like Proven, like Kiefer, you've a decent spade of athletes for one guy. And then Proven has a shitload of athletes, like a lot going to the games, a lot of ones that could have conceivably gone to the games and just fell short. So it's quite a large stable. Do you just kind of stay with what you have, or, you know, do you reassess, say, after the game's over and say, okay, like, I guess you wait and see if the athletes say, yeah, I'm staying, I'm happy here. That's the first conversation. And then after that, do you just say, nah, we're probably heading for capacity here, we're kind of okay? Or do you constantly try to grow?
This was, I think, a huge part of our conversations early on, and why we took so long with this hire and Kiefer specifically, was because we, as much as we're putting good processes in place to hire good people and have good athletes, we don't want to go back to 2023 where we're growing athletes too fast. So I think now we'll have close to, like, it's in the 40s, maybe 50 semifinal athletes, to where now we have 10 coaches. Where like 10 coaches can really handle that, which is not an issue for us. And we're going to put in some processes to where we're going to do international camps. So obviously Batu, when he goes down to Latin America and he does go into Spain, he's going to have camps for those that it's not going to be a cost to them at all, but we want more touch points with those high level athletes. The side of our business that's come pay whatever to work out with Tia, that's the general population, that'll always be there. But now working with Kiefer and working with Jared and Shane and the others, we're going to have more camps where we can actually elevate these people's careers on an athletic side, rather than just saying, hey, like, good luck at your event this weekend. Here's your programming for the next 12 weeks. So like the minute the games gets over, that's kind of when our work actually starts, and we're going to start scheduling those out, planning them. Who knows what next season looks like, honestly, because it changes so much now. But at least in the October, November time, we can start having touch points then, instead of getting to March and realizing we have all these semifinal athletes like we had this year because we grew so fast, to where the 2025, I think, is going to be like the easiest year we've had yet, because we have such a good understanding of what we need to do.
Has your t-shirt got Proven written on it, Nick?
It's my t-shirt?
Yeah, has it got the Proven logo on it? Wow. Look at this. You're all provened up. Although Kiefer's is out of date. Again, if your t-shirt isn't in the current year, it's a show of lack of respect, I heard.
Got too many vowels on it too.
Yeah, it's 2020, 2023.
I don't know if you know this, Peter, but I was too large and jacked for many of the t-shirts that they had in stock, and so we had to go to the old stock.
Wow. I mean, I think Nick nails it. Kiefer's so damn handsome and tall.
Nick's
and he also wants to know, do you have to legally change your name to... Oh, but there's too many vowels in there. Yeah. Wow, that's embarrassing. Nick doesn't know what a vowel is, guys. Pile on. Yeah, I did actually notice this. Why have you stopped wearing glasses? Did you get contacts?
No, I do wear them, but sometimes on
podcasts, the reflection, yeah.
So I take them off.
Professional right there. Look at him.
You can cut a hole in the middle of your glasses.
I progressively get more of a lazy eye over the show because I'm looking without them.
Honestly, I'm still thinking it now, but for the first 10 minutes of this show, I was like, am I fucking cross-eyed? Like, because when I look, there's one direction. If I look to this way, it looks like this eye is more to the left. This eye is more straight.
Mm.
Does it look like that to you? Am I cross-eyed?
They're called podcast eyes. You're just going to have one go eventually over time.
It's actually called, I've been pretty sick for like 24 hours. I actually text Kiefer earlier on. I was like, when do you leave? I was like, can we do this tomorrow night instead of tonight? Because I'm at a pretty low ebb today. Okay, so I want to ask actually as well. So say you use, say the coaches, 10 coaches, right? And you've got Kiefer now moving over. So obviously the athletes that Kiefer is working with, by and large, they'll be doing the programming that Kiefer would have had in his head from when they qualified for semifinals for the games. Even similar stuff that say Bailey would have been doing last year, and just filling in some holes and stuff. So I'm assuming, broad strokes, it's going to be the same as what Kiefer had planned 3 months ago for those guys. Moving on, say looking at 6 months time or whatever, how individualized, say if something get bitten by a radioactive spider or something and become a good athlete and I want to join Proven, if I go with Kiefer or if I go with Jarrett or if I go with Shane or Batu or whoever, how different is my training going to be across all those people? Like, is it going to be drastically different coach to coach?
So that's our mission right now. And we just got out of a coaches meeting not even an hour ago where we talked about, and I think your first point of like, what do we look for when we hire is we want people that are different enough that are willing to learn, because like we wouldn't be a brand without Shane. And I think Kiefer would attest to this as well. Shane's the only reason any of us are here and how good he is at coaching. Because obviously Tia is gifted and she's great and she's a champion, but Shane helped her get to where she is, and we need to figure out how we can get our coaches to not copy what he's doing, but use his broad templates of how he programs and put their spin on things. So like when you sign up, or if you're somebody that comes to us as a games athlete and says, I need to get better at X, Y, Z, we know which coach would best fit that mold. So like now we've got so many one-on-one guys that all program a little bit differently, but are learning how to work their systems like Shane, to where we feel like we're getting in a good groove to where we know exactly where to place people.
So it's individualized to a point, but there's like silos basically that workouts would fall into, and then you'd kind of structure them around what Shane has been doing for whatever 6-7 years. You'd structure the programming ideas are his, but you'd tweak them to suit the coach, would tweak them to suit their own style, and then you'd also tweak them to suit the athlete. Is that accurate?
If you look around the sport as a whole, like there are concepts that are consistent with being successful in this sport, regardless of where you are, right? Coaching is as much an art as anything. And the art of that is being like, okay, like what is my style of this? How can I get the athlete to express what I need them to express and to get better at their different things? And so if you pull back most athletes' templates to its bare bones, there are constituent parts of like, all right, we got to get better at conditioning and skill work and sport and weightlifting. And then how that's reflected in their programming comes from each coach's experiences, both in their own training, working with athletes in the past, what's been successful. There are things that I'm able to learn from Shane because of success he's had. And I hope at some point there's things that he picks from me. He's like, oh, the way that he applied that works really well with the concepts I believe in. So I think that individualization is about how do you relay a message to an athlete in a way that makes them most successful. It's not about making something uniquely different just for the sake of making it different. Like at the end of the day, we're competing at the same sport on the same weekend. And so there are things that are going to converge over time.
You said there that you'd have, if an athlete came to you and said, I want to work on X, Y, and Z, you'd have the coach like would pop into your head. Mm-hmm. What's Kiefer's strength? What athlete would he work with to improve?
We talked about that earlier. I think he has seen a lot of success with the younger athletes, which is really good because that's a big responsibility to where you'll notice as coaches that some people that may be able to coach a veteran, games veteran, that they've been around forever, mental stability is there, can't always coach somebody that's in their 18, 19, 20-year-old years that have to make that switch up. I think Kiefer's done a really good job of that. But then more so, I think he's done an even better job with remote athletes. So like to have the success that he has with Luca and Gracie and Bailey when he's in a time zone that doesn't even line up for more than 3 or 4 hours a day is something that says a lot, because you have to be a great communicator for that. You've got to know people really well. So that would be somebody if Peter actually worked out really well with Tim Paulson. So Tim Paulson's coaching him. But if Kiefer had a spot open, that would be the person that I would give him to, right? Because he already works with a lot of Aussies. He's used to working with that archetype of athlete. The remote portion is no big deal for him, to where somebody like Jared, if it was somebody that wanted to be in-house with us, it's in person, and the strength and the weaknesses lined up, I would say, Jared, you should be more on this person's side. You can help them in that regard. And then you talk about the whole male-female aspect of things. We had this conversation on our podcast. I think Kiefer would much rather work and feels more comfortable with female athletes, where Jared is in the exact same boat, where somebody like Joey, who's coaching Colton, has a lot of success with working with those types of guys, and David's the same way. So, like I said, I think we've just got a good gambit now to where if it doesn't work with one, and that's the thing too, it may not work. And if we've got enough people and you get 6 to 8 weeks into this in the off season, you're like, I just don't really mesh with this person, we've always got somebody else. So it is like, I don't say we'll have it figured out, but we've got a trial and error period over the last 6 months that we feel like we got a good beat on things.
He just called you cool, Kiefer, I think. He just said kids think you're cool.
I'm also just really lucky. Like for the last almost 3 years, I've coached every day in Vegas, and we've had a plethora of really successful female athletes from the young age to like top 5 at the games level. And so, you know, for me to take on a female athlete that's 20, 21, 22 years old, that's looking to like break into semifinals, break into the games. One, I've been around a lot of athletes that are successful in that way. So there's a bit of a relatability there. But two, it's like I would say that I have a much better and more refined touch point on exactly what is required to be as good as you need to be on the female side in each of the realms, more so than I do from the men even. Like I'm still learning with Luca and with Bailey, and that's part of the communication is like, okay, I might overshoot or undershoot something more often because I don't see it in person every day the same way I see females at an elite level do things.
It's fair. Amazing use of plethora, by the way. I was really impressed with that.
Thanks. I'm really trying to work on expanding my vocabulary.
Crossfit has my back. It's the degree of fisheye. I assume that's something to do with the camera, and he's not insulting my eyes. It's the degree of fisheye and optical center of each lens causing the appearance of cross-eye. So because the lens like bends here, I guess it's making this eye look like, oh fucking hell, I don't really need to get into it, do I? Why doesn't Pedro have a proven background? Yeah, so we actually talked about this. The size of the logo on the wall behind you is how respected you are within the proven community. So Nic obviously has a big one. Kiefer's is like smallish enough, and then if you look really close, there's a teeny tiny logo over there, which denotes lack of respect. I don't know what this is about. Ask about the proven affiliate map form recently sent out. What's that about, Nic?
It's probably we have an affiliate map on our website. I don't know exactly what they're asking about, but we send out forms to make sure that's updated. So affiliates just fill out all their information. We add them to the website, so whenever people are traveling, they can drop into proven gyms.
Okay. Bollocks. What was I going to ask? I had a question for Kiefer there, and it's gone out of my head because I was thinking about being cross-eyed.
That's okay.
Fuck, I can't think of what it was. No, and it was a fucking good question as well. It's gone. Anyway. Okay. Well, I think that's it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. It's been great getting to catch up with you. Good luck, Kiefer, with your future endeavors or whatever. I don't know. Nic, good job picking a good guy to work with. Good. You've obviously got a good taste in men. Thanks everyone for watching as well, and thanks Wild Zombie for the $5. I'll see you guys in Texas. Yeah,
get your training and trash bag so you get used to that heat.
Yeah, I'll buy a sauna. That'll be fine.